Well, it's a very good morning from him, that bloke over there, and a good morning from me as well. Welcome, everybody, to my CMAP live stream. I hope everybody's well and good. Hope you're fine. Enjoying your bank holiday weekend. We've got loads of bank holidays coming up, haven't we, in the next few weeks? Got King's coronation on Monday. Hope the weather picks up. It's the forecast is a bit sort of rainy and gloomy, which won't be very particularly pleasant, will it? So we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Got a few people joining us live already, which is great. So let's get on with our topic today. Now, as you can appreciate, I'm on the slides today. I've got the old green screen set up here. If any of you are watching the live stream, if you're on podcast, then you can't see, so that's fine. But if you're on podcast, you may want to get hold of some of our material to help you with the session that I'm delivering this morning. I want to take a look at the welfare benefits for 22-23, so the new tax year. Things have changed a little bit, and as a financial advisor, mortgage advisor, you really do need to be up to date, obviously for the exams as well, but more importantly for giving advice and talking to customers. You need to know about the state welfare benefits. That's coming up. Then we've got a little treat for you on if you're running your business, how are you niching your business? How are you specializing in types of customers? So that's coming up a little bit later as well. So hope all is good for you. Hope everything's fine. Hope you're surviving well, enjoying the summer. If you have any summer, of course, coming your way. It's been a bit cold and wet this year so far, hasn't it? Must admit. Let's go on to our first topic then, which is state benefits. And for the purpose of this topic, what I'm going to do now is share with you on screen my welfare benefits grid. Now, this is something, actually, I started creating this way back in 1995 when I was working at Black Horse, and we had about 250 financial advisors that we looked after. I was in sales management and training then. And I created this welfare benefits grid then. Obviously, it's changed a lot since then and updated and altered, etc. But you can kind of see a bit of a pattern going through. So let's just share this with you now. And you can get hold of this, by the way. It's in our revision guide for all of the products, really. So CMAP 1 is the main one, CMAP 2, but also in the equity release revision guide and the protection revision guide. We've got them all in those things for you to enjoy. And the new editions, of course, that are coming out for the next tax year, we've got that all as well. So what I've got for you here is a copy of the first page. It's 2 pages. Now, you probably can't see that from where you are because that's obviously too small text. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom into bits of this and just take you through how it all works, really, and some of the numbers and some of the concepts, just to give you a bit of an insight. So here we go. For those of you on podcast, you'll be able to hear it. If you're on live stream, remember, you'll be able to see this as well as it comes through. If you're listening to the podcast, by the way, and you want to take a look at the live stream version, just head over to YouTube. They're all on there, or LinkedIn. If you link in with me, then I can share with you the video-based version of the podcast. So let's zoom in then, shall we? Let's get the machine to zoom in. We'll take a look at state pensions to start with. So just pop across here so you can see that clearly. We've got 2 pensions in the welfare grid. We've got the basic state pension itself at the top, and then we've got state pensions credit at the bottom. Now, the basic state pension, as you can see here, is the one that's given to everybody, male or female, over the age of 66 now. It's only given to people, though, that have a national insurance record. So if they've been employed or self-employed, they have to have a certain level of national insurance. And over here you can see it's 35 years of qualifying national insurance to be able to get it. Now, there's been a bit of hoo-ha in the press recently about people topping up their state pension. These are people that wouldn't have got 35 years service, you see, so therefore want to be able to top it up through another class of national insurance. The state pension is not means tested, so everybody gets it, even Richard Branson, because he needs it now because his rocket company's gone bust. He doesn't actually, but it is taxed. And you get this kind of sequence coming on. If it's required to be have a national insurance record to get the benefit, then it's not normally taxed. Sorry, not normally means tested, and it is taxed. So that's kind of a trend coming through on this NI means tested tax grid along here. Now, it's paid weekly, as you can appreciate. It replaces all other extra pensions that we used to have, like SERPs and state second pensions. And interesting enough, if you defer the pension, you'll get an increase. We're doing that. I'm doing that anyway. I think I qualify at 66, which is, for me, is only, 6-7 years away. So I'm deferring it for 5 years, and I'll get a bigger sum. Hopefully, I'll live for a few more years after that to benefit. Then you get the state pension credit. Now, the state pension credit is given to people who have retired and they're already getting the state pension, which is pretty much the only welfare benefit they're probably getting, and they're skint. They need extra money. And what it does is it brings people, as you can see here, up to a certain weekly threshold. And I put the figures here: 201 for single people, 306 for a couple. So it actually sort of tops up their income, if you like, to give them this amount of money per week, which is not a lot, but it means that they can obviously survive. Now, acceptance of state pensions credit opens up the gates for all sorts of other goodies: council tax support, housing benefit, all the other goodies that these people generally need. Now, the whole point here is it's payable until death. You don't have to have a national insurance record for it. It is means tested, but it's not taxed. Can you see the opposite now? Whereas the state pension, you did have to have national insurance. It wasn't means tested and it was taxed. So that's how it tends to work. Now, this is the means testing. It's based upon somebody's capital. If they've got capital in the bank, they basically lose the pensions credit, and there's a little calculation there for you to work out. Obviously, it's tested on income because it's only given to people, as you can see there, on certain incomes. So that's the pension environment. If you're advising on personal pensions, SIPs and things, then you need to be aware that people do get these things. Now let's take a look at family benefits next then. Now family benefits, we've got statutory maternity pay, maternity allowance, and state paternity pay, given when you start producing babies, which is the whole point behind it. Now statutory maternity pay has been around forever, really. It's payable to people with a national insurance record only, so it's only employed people, class 1. As you can see there, it's not means tested, but it is taxed. And that's important. And it pays a certain amount of money for people who've been with an employer for 6 months. For the first 6 weeks, it pays 90% of their pay. And then it goes down to a lower amount as well. And if you don't qualify, you might qualify for maternity allowance, which is the next one. Maternity allowance is given to self-employed or mothers just recently changed jobs. So of course, you've got to be with the same employer as you for 6 months. It's payable for 39 weeks. It's not doesn't require a national insurance record. It is means tested, and it's not taxed. That's the opposite. So you can see the two there. State paternity pay, I never got this, but the biological father now gets a couple of weeks of pay. So that's nice, isn't it? And good for them too. Then you've got the crazy one, really, called child benefit. And I call this crazy because it's basically a weekly amount given to parents who are responsible for a child and bring up a child. But it is kind of means tested now, and I'll come on to that in a second. It's given to kids up to age 16, but if they go on to further education, it's given to them to about age 20. It's not reliant on a national insurance record. It is means tested now, but it's not taxed. It's a good thing, I really do, because bringing up kids, we brought up 4 kids, it's blooming expensive. You need every penny you can. But if you're earning, any one partner in the household is earning 50 grand or more, you've got to pay it back. And that's the crazy thing. The reason they do it is because whoever claims it gets a stamp for national insurance. If they're not working, they get an NI stamp for that particular year. So it's a good thing to do. But anybody that's in the household that earns 50 grand or more, they have to pay it back. A lot of people have been caught out by this as well. So that's the child benefit there for you as well. Then we've got universal credit, the big one. Now, universal credit, I think, is really quite clever because it's replaced dozens of the old things. I mean, it's replacing, as you can see here, income support, working tax credit, child tax credit, income-based employment support allowance, and job seekers and housing benefits. Replace loads of these silly little miscellaneous things that were very complicated. And it's given really to people that need it. It's not required for an NI. You don't need a national insurance record to get it. It is means tested naturally, but it's not taxed. So it really gives money to people, employed or self-employed, that need money. They need money to live. That's the whole point behind it. And it's a standard amount given to people, more to disabled people with children as well. There's a benefits cap, as you can see over here. These are the latest figures for you. In London, it's just over 25 grand. So that's the cap of benefits that people can receive. But it is means tested on capital as well. So that's universal credit. Easy to understand, really. It's just given to people that need it. And I like the idea of that one. Then we've got one that not a lot of people talk about very much, which is council tax support. Now, council tax support is given to people that don't earn enough money, they're skint virtually, and they can't afford their council tax. They own a house. It's usually for elderly people who've paid off a mortgage, etc., and are not working. Maybe they're on state pension, and they do need some help to pay their council tax. Not just for owners, it's for renters as well, and it's provided by the local authority. It's paid indefinitely, as you can see. It doesn't require a national insurance record. It is means tested, but it's not taxed. Broadly speaking, if you qualify for pensions credit, you get council tax support. So it's a good thing to have. But you can be tested separately to get it. Now, be careful if you're giving advice on equity release. I was watching a webinar this morning where we had Pure and Standard Life and some other companies presenting on equity release. There's quite a few people now releasing equity just to top up their income, to make their life a bit more bearable. And that's a good thing. Because if you start producing income for people like equity release, you're going to start possibly getting rid of pensions credit and council tax support. So you've got to be very careful with the advice that you give on that, very careful indeed. So that's page 1 for you. Page 2, let's flick over to page 2 there for you, the magic of these slides, and we'll zoom in for you to the first couple. Now, down here, we've got illness benefits. These are benefits given to people that are ill or poorly. Remember, we're not talking about universal credit. That's given to anybody that needs extra money. These are specific benefits given to people who are poorly. The big one there at the top there is statutory sick pay, given to people who have a class 1, so employed people only, with a national insurance record, not means tested, but it is taxed. Effectively, this is the money you get if you're ill for a few days. Well, it's 4th day onwards for another 6 months. And it is paid by an employer, and it's government funded. So that's statutory sick pay, which most people get if they're off ill for a short period of time, as you can see. Now, after 28 weeks, you might then apply for the new style, as we call it now, Employment and Support Allowance, ESA. It's replaced all the other sickness benefits. Now, the point behind this one is given to people with an NI record, as you can see. It's not means tested, but it is taxed. This is effectively given to those people who don't qualify for statutory sick pay. So employed people only get statutory sick pay. So if you're self-employed or any other reasons, then you can apply for the employment and support allowance. It's given to people really to help them back into work who are ill, accident, disability, that sort of thing, employed or self-employed. Now, if they need more, they can apply for universal credit. Of course you can, but the whole point about the employment support allowance is it has an assessment period. It's paid for 13 weeks. It's not forever, and then a state doctor assesses you, and there's lots of support groups to help you get better and go back to work, because they want you to get back to work. That's the whole point behind it. But there's an awful lot of people claiming this at the moment, an awful lot of people. Then you've got the 3 smaller ones down here. You've got attendance allowance, which is given to those over 65 who need paid assistance. It's not a lot of money, and as you can see, it's no on the national insurance means tested. Then we've got PIP. Now, the personal independence payment is given to people under state pension age. So attendance allowance given to people over state pension age. The PIP's given to people under state pension age who need paid assistance. So these are people who are at home. They haven't gone to a care home at all. They're at home, but they need assistance that costs money. And as you can appreciate, these are good ones to have. Again, if they need more welfare benefit, if they're under 65, then they go for universal credit. It's replaced a lot of the old ones too. Down at the bottom here, just to sneak this last one in for you, I put in there the carers allowance. Now, carers allowance is given to carers of seriously ill people, but it's only available for those below state pension age. They're not claiming state pension. It's for younger people, really. And as you can appreciate, it's given to them to help subsidize their life because they're caring for somebody and therefore not earning money as they will be able to do so. Then we've got job-related benefits. The first one is redundancy payment. Now, this isn't actually paid by the government, but it makes a lump sum of up to £30,000 tax-free. So if your company's gone bust and you're getting redundant, then you would get some money, and up to £30,000 is tax-free, as you can see there. Then you've got job seekers allowance, JSS, the new one, of course. This is given to unemployed people working less than 16 hours a week. Pay for 6 months. It's employed only, so you have to have a national insurance record for employed people. It's not means tested, and it is taxed. It's for people who are capable and available for work. That's the whole point. And that's why you have to go to the job agencies, you have to register, etc. You have to be available for work and applying for job interviews, etc., etc. It's not a lot of money. It's 6 months. It's paid for as well. If you haven't got a national insurance record and you need more, you can qualify for universal credit. That's the whole point. Universal credit catches everybody after these better benefits run out. That's the great thing. Now, big one for you guys recommending mortgages is SME, support for mortgage interest. You'd have come across this before. If somebody's gone into arrears on their mortgage and the lender is going to repossess, then they don't need to do that because they can apply to the government, the Department of Work and Pensions, for SME, support for mortgage interest. Now, the whole point about SME is it pays your mortgage for you or your interest anyway. But it's not a gift anymore. It's not a freebie. It's not actually a welfare benefit. It's a loan. The government basically give you a loan, and you apply for it. The big change now is you only have to wait 3 months to get your first payment. It was up to 9 months a little while ago. But the government tweaked that, and good for them too, because 9 months is a long time to wait. So it's only 3 months now. Now, to qualify for SME, you must be claiming universal credit, pensions credit, or job seekers allowance or employment support allowance. You must be claiming for another benefit effectively before you can get SME. So you've got to go through the routine, haven't you? Now, it's a loan that's payable or repaid when you sell the house. And client of mine, or a contact of mine, contacted me. They've known somebody that's been claiming SME since like 2014, I think it is, like almost like 10 years. And they owe the government about 20 grand. So it soon accumulates. It's not required to have an NI record. It is means tested, of course, and it's not taxed. But it's a loan, so it wouldn't be, would it? A couple of quick caveats for you. It's only for mortgage interest up to £200,000, only for mortgages up to 200 grand, which actually is not a massive mortgage anymore. It's a standard rate the government pays direct to the lender. So it's not your rate of interest. They have a standard rate of interest according to the market, and they'll pay that directly to the lender, stop you pocketing the money and nipping down to Tesco's. And for those on pensions credit, by the way, it gets paid immediately. So that's a little thing there for you. Now, the big one, if you're selling life assurance, is death benefits. That's the last one for us here today. Bereavement support payment. This is one that's replaced a lot of the other miscellaneous stuff now. It's paid to widows, widowers, or surviving civil partners and cohabitees now as well. So that's like your common law people, which is great. It's an initial lump sum followed by 18 monthly installments, and it's available until you reach state pension age, because then you get your state pension. It's only payable for 18 months, so a year and a half, pretty good. It does require, though, a national insurance record. That's important, that. It's not means tested, and it is taxed, but the lump sum isn't. Now, there's a couple of lump sums here. There's 3.5 grand you get if you've got children. If you haven't got children, it's 2.5 grand. Nice. Well, it won't pay a funeral, but it'll help. And then you've got this monthly income, and then obviously less if there's no children. So it's nice. But again, if you haven't got an NI record, a full record of NI, you ain't going to get it. Then you have to apply for universal credit. So that's bereavement support payment. Worth talking about when you talk about life assurance. Ask the customer how much does the state pay them if the husband or the wife died, and let them be aware that this is what the government will pay them, and ask them how they would feel about that and what's going to go wrong in their life if that's the case. And then you can talk about life assurance as well. So, whoa, what a whistle-stop tour that was for you. Now, for those of you on our boot camps and things, we give these on our revision guides, so you can get hold of this. This is the page 2 of our welfare benefits grid, and it's useful for your CMAT 1 exams, your CMAT 2 exams, your equity release exams, and your protection exams, but also your financial advisor exams as well. It's a lovely little summary, and it helps you to understand how things roll. So I hope you found that useful. Bye. Well done, everybody. Well done. Oh, that was a whistle-stop tour. Back over to the normal studio now. That was just the green screen doing its thing as well. Actually, I'm going to pop across actually and take a look at some pictures for you. Because the next session I want to just a quick couple of minutes, this one. This one's on business building for you. How are you building your business? Now, on this webinar this morning, where we had Pure and Standard Life doing their thing, which was great. I mean, a couple of BDMs doing their usual trick of presenting a PowerPoint deck, weren't they, and just talking behind it. But hey, they're all about product features, and that's great. But there was about 90 odd mortgage and financial advisors on the Zoom call, because you had all their names and pictures on this gallery. And I was wondering what kind of business they were operating. They all looked like one person bands. I don't know. And it kind of struck me as to where their clients are and what kind of client base they like to work with. How do they niche their client bank? How do they decide who they're going to advise to? Because you can't sell to everybody. You've got to be crystal clear who you're going to be working with, who you're going to be advising, who is your client bank. If you're not crystal clear, then you'll get lost in the whole mix of people. I mean, there was 90 odd financial advisors on there, and quite frankly, they all look pretty much the same. Financial advisors all look the same, don't they? No, they were different, of course they were, but they all look the same. It's difficult to, they had fancy names and stuff, but it's difficult to know where their market was. So let me share you a couple of pictures, which I think you'll find interesting. Now, the first picture I want to share with you is a picture of a mountain range called the Himalayas up at Nepal, or across that neck of the woods. Now, the question I'm going to ask you as I show you the mountain range, let's show you the picture here. For those of you on the podcast, you can't see this, but it's the Himalayas mountain range. Now, my question for you is, where is Mount Everest? That's my question. Where amongst that mountain range is Mount Everest? So that's my first question for you. Now, my next picture I'm going to share with you is a panoramic view of London on a pretty gloomy day, really, where you've got the River Thames and some of the famous buildings. And my next question to you is, where is Big Ben? Now, for those of you listening on the podcast, you can't see it, but those of you watching the live stream, you'll probably think, actually, Paul, Big Ben's easy. It's there. There you are. There's Big Ben. It's quite an iconic thing. Zooming in for you so you can see it in some detail. Now, the whole point behind those two pictures is you will get lost in the crowd if you don't niche your business. Is your business unique? Because the picture of the Himalayas, although we know that Mount Everest is the biggest mountain in the world, they all look the same. You see, you've got like 20 odd mountains there. They all look the same. Okay, different angles show you one's taller than the other, but I can't see which one is Mount Everest. Whereas when I look at the picture of London, I know exactly what Big Ben is. Although it's only another building, you see, it's unique image of Big Ben. And that's the point I'm making here. If you're operating a business and you're looking to niche your market, don't get lost amongst a crowd of similar financial advisors who all do the similar thing. They advise the same sort of clients. Make sure your offering is unique. You must stand out in the crowd, just like Big Ben. So that's the metaphor there for you, makes you think. Now, this morning they were talking about mass affluent people who are now equity releasing, which is interesting. The affluent masses, they call them. Whether you agree or not with that, I got my sort of socialist views probably sort of knocked that on the head a little bit. But the fact is that you might market yourself to rich older people, and that's fine as long as you make it clear that's what you do and that's how you operate. So it helps with your marketing. You see, it improves your ability to market if you know who your audience is. We're talking about baby boomers here, aren't we, in the equity release marketplace? Baby boomers, for example, you won't find them on TikTok, but you'll find them on Facebook. So that's where you do your advertising. You won't find them on LinkedIn because they ain't working anymore. Most of them are retired, and most retired people don't go on LinkedIn. It does surprise me actually how many people try and advertise on LinkedIn for their services. It ain't going to work that way. So you've got to be crystal clear of your market, and that's the whole point behind that little article there for you. I think that useful too. All right, so let's wrap up and say goodbye. Again, I hope you're good. Hope you're fine. Hope you had a good weekend. Got loads and loads of bank holidays coming up. King's coronation coming up, but more importantly, the world of mortgages and financial services is beginning to brighten up a little bit. We're seeing some bright spots coming in now, which is good. Inflation is beginning to be tamed. Interest rates will probably trickle up again, maybe. But there's talk of them coming down and sentiments coming back into the marketplace. But of course, we're into May now. June gets quieter anyway in the mortgage market. But one thing I will say to you is make sure you're handling all these product transfers, all your customers that you've dealt with over the last few years. You're helping them with their remortgaging and product transfers, because the banks are hoovering up at the moment. They're hoovering up, guys. You've got to be sharper at marketing and getting in touch with these people to get that business. because it's business that you should get and get hold of. So that's something to think about as well. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy yourselves and all those good things. I'll leave you with some final music. Let's just press some music so you can say goodbye in the proper way. And we'll have fun. And yeah, see you next week. Bye for now.